This conference will now be recorded.
So welcome everybody to the high-risk recurrent advanced virtual prostate cancer group that ANCAN and us two sponsor together. And today is Monday. Yes, Monday the 2nd of March.
Yep.
And I'm going to run down the names that I see. And actually, as I speak there, I see more people joining us, but let me run down the names that I see. Rich Jackson, Paul Frieda, John Paul, Jim Ward, Dennis Correa, Joel Blanchette, Carl Foreman, Peter Kafka, Sylvester Mann, Ken Anderson, Les Shelderup, and Len Sierra. I'm sure I've missed somebody. Who have I missed?
Did you get Jake?
Oh, did I get
Man, I'm not going to come on this call anymore. I'm just going to go home and cry.
Oh, you're loved. You're loved. You know that.
I knew
We also
And
have
then,
Floor 5 and we have David S.
And David S. Right, and an unidentified person. Okay.
Hey, Rick, you have one more, Dennis McGuire.
Oh, and Dennis McGuire. I didn't. Yeah, thank you, Dennis. I meant to write you down right underneath Dennis' career and forgot. Thank you. I'm still trying to get used to this new system. Now, let me just address David S. David, have you ever been on the call before, or is this your first time?
Who are you saying again?
I'm talking to David S.
Okay.
Are you, is that you, sir?
No, I'm John, and it's actually Hall, H-A-L-L, instead of Paul.
I'm sorry, can you speak up a little bit? We're having a little trouble hearing you. Say that again.
John Hall, I got it.
John Hall, we got it. Okay. And John, I know this is your first time. David S., is this your first time? Okay. David S. seems to be missing in action. We'll come back to David S.
He sent I got that chat where it says, can you make me the presenter?
Oh.
We get that once in a while. I'm not sure what that means, but
No.
I got a
But
message.
David, you'll need to enable. It shows your microphone working, but we're not hearing anything from you. So
Right.
you may have something on your own computer that isn't working, but the GoToMeeting part is working just fine. So we will. I'm going to assume we haven't heard from you before, and so we'll give you some time up front after John Hall. And hopefully by that time we'll be able to hear you. And Larry Fish just got here too.
Hey, Larry.
Okay, we got a big crew tonight. So John, this is your first time. And usually what we do for new people is we give them the floor to begin with, if you would like it. If you prefer just to listen for a while, we can come back to you. But if you would like to take the floor, we'd ask you just to tell us a little bit about your background, maybe how you found us, a little bit about your disease background, how old you are, where you're being treated, and various good things. If you miss anything, I'm sure one of us will ask the question to get filled in. How would you feel about telling us about yourself?
That's fine, but I'll start off by saying, I guess like a lot of you, I was scared shitless when I first got this diagnosis. So to hear you guys all laugh is incredibly comforting, because you feel very, very, very alone and scared.
Yes, true.
as a male, I guess I'm not the best at sharing my feelings, and then try to tough things out and internalize, but it's a pretty frightening diagnosis. So anyway, and so I have to admit, just again, hearing you guys laugh and enjoy each other's comfort gives me comfort. And I guess my background is developing new products, including the healthcare field, and I've had a good business career, but I'm most proud of in the last 10 years, I'm focusing on building the nonprofits. We're creating jobs for developmentally disabled and other disabled persons. And so I'm partnered with a lot of corporate people to take the program eventually national. So in addition to wanting to be around with my wife and kids, I really want to pursue this dream to be a game changer in that field, because that sector of the U.S. economy averages 85% unemployment rate, and I don't feel that's fair.
Can I just
jump
in for a second? Must be about 3 years ago, I tried to work on a project to create jobs for people on the spectrum, on the autistic spectrum. And I was working with a guy whose name David, I forget his last name, out of the University of Chicago. He was a graduate of Booth Business School, as I was many years ago. But it never came to anything. So I know just a tiny little bit about what you were doing, and great kudos to you.
Yeah, I took, I was fortunate I could take time out. I partnered with a bunch of the major research universities, like Harvard and Stanford and Northwestern, et cetera. And we took 5 years and spent over 20,000 hours of research through Europe, United States, and Canada to figure out best practices and where we could develop a disruptive approach. But I don't want to over focus on that, but I've now more recently brought in a lot of large corporate partners of companies like Microsoft to get involved. My personal situation is I have, I guess, GLIC or whatever that term is, 9. So I have definite aggressive or advanced cancer in the prostate.
Hang on 1 second, please, David. I think caller. No, I think David was calling in on telephone. I was going to mute him. Sorry, he left though.
I think David, if you can hear us, if you call in on the telephone, please mute your microphone on your computer. Otherwise, we get that kind of feedback. So you can call right back in and just mute your mic on your computer, and that should work fine. Sorry to interrupt you, John. So you were saying you're a Gleason 8 or a Gleason 9?
Gleason 9.
Okay.
And but it hasn't metastasized outside the prostate, and so I don't have a treatment plan quite yet. They just finished all the tests, and because they wanted to make sure it wasn't spreading, and hold
on, John. David, please, can you just mute your mic on your computer?
He hung up again.
Okay.
David, I'm going to try to mute you on your screen and then try calling it again.
Sorry, John.
Try calling in again, David.
Okay. All right. We're still with you, John, and we're sorry to keep interrupting you. So it hasn't metastasized. Are you, by any chance, the gentleman that spoke to Bill in Phoenix?
Yes, yes. Bill was a very close friend of mine.
Ah, okay, yes. He gave us a heads up that you might be calling in. And ironically, I have somebody else I'm working with who is in a very similar situation to you. So, so I am aware, a little bit aware of what's going on. But you should fill in the other guys. So you've recently been diagnosed with Gleason 8s and 9s. Where are you living?
I live in Scottsdale, and I'm being handled initially by Mayo, but with Bill, Bill's recommended me Dr. Mark Schultz to speak with, and to broaden potentially being treated outside of Mayo.
But you have options. But you have options at Mayo as well. So I really wasn't aware of that, and I know Peter and I have said that Schultz is an option, but you do have options at Mayo. We'll come to that, and there are men on the call who are using that option. So you can talk to them too.
Right, and I'm more than happy where part of it is in Scottsdale, and I can afford to fly to Rochester to do part of the treatment if appropriate. But anyways, but I'm still in the early stages figuring out what's the best plan of action.
Right. How old are you?
66.
66. And do you have any sons?
2 sons.
Okay. Brothers?
I have 3 brothers, but last year I lost one brother to glioblastoma cancer.
Okay.
And that was very rapid with
Rapid, yeah.
That's
Any other cancer in your family other than the glioblastoma?
no.
No. Okay. And what's your PSA? We didn't ask you that.
It's 11.
And what's the history of the PSA?
It's more recently elevated, but I hadn't had a test within a year of when it started really elevate. It's been over a year.
Okay, so it hasn't. So it's been up around the 11 mark for around a year. It hasn't moved at all.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, it went to 10.5. It's only been in the last 2 months.
And what was it, say, 6 months ago? Do you know?
I didn't get it done in the. It was about 18 months ago. The last time I got it done.
And then what was it then?
I think it was 5, if I remember right.
Okay. Okay. So I'm just gonna chip in with just one little comment, and then I'm just going to open it up so you can talk to some of the guys, and also to some of the guys that are seeing there is an excellent GU medical oncologist at Mayo that we know. So we'll tell you about him. But here's my my reading, and I have been thinking about this quite a bit in the last 2 or 3 days because a colleague and friend who we work with at ANCAN, his father-in-law was recently diagnosed with Gleason 8s and 9s, and he's trying to figure out what to do. And oh, I should have asked you, do you know how many cores you had taken and how many were positive and how many were negative?
They were all positive.
And was it 12 cores?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you recall if there were any 5s? Well, there were. If there were 9s, was it 4 plus 5 or 5 plus 4?
I think it was 4 plus 5.
Okay. Do you recall how many by any chance, John? All right, it's enough information, and I don't want to put you under pressure. My feeling, if it were me, is this: we can't give you medical advice. We can tell you what we've done, what we do, what we've seen other guys do, and my feeling is this: when you have a diagnosis that is significant, where you've got a lot of cancer, as you do in your case, and you got 5s in your number, it is, first of all, it's treatable. That's the first thing I want to tell you. There are things we can do. There's some possibility that we may be able to nail this and get you a durable remission. We don't know. We can't say for sure, but there's a possibility. It's not an end of the world diagnosis by any stretch of the imagination. But it probably makes the most amount of sense to bring on a genitourinary medical oncologist early in your treatment. Now, they're not going to be the first treating party, because most likely you are going to have the opportunity to do either surgery or some form of radiation, most likely some form of radiation, because the evidence seems to point to that as being the best way to go, together with hormone therapy, all of which are manageable. But it's smart to talk this through with a really good genitourinary medical oncologist and let them help you navigate your first steps. And essentially, this is what I just recommended to this other gentleman this morning and sent him to, he lives in Western Massachusetts, and I sent him to somebody at Dana-Farber. And in your case, if it were me, I would want to start there. Have you had any scans yet?
Yes, I had the bone scan and I had CT.
Okay.
Scan.
And were they both negative?
What?
Were they both negative?
Yeah, they were both negative.
Okay. So I think for me, I would want to be talking. What I've seen this week, and I've just confirmed it, and I can probably send you the same references, is that the favored treatment for this is usually not necessarily in this order: brachytherapy plus IMRT radiation to the pelvic girdle and hormone therapy for a significant period of time, meaning usually somewhere between 18 months to 36 months, somewhere in that region. It depends on the doctor. And that seems to
Yeah,
produce the best results.
yeah, that's I've done extensive research on this, and that's what I'm finding.
And
Those,
for somebody like yourself with a fair amount of cancer, most likely the brachytherapy would be high dose radiation with the inserting the rods and not the permanent seeds.
okay.
That's my first response. Let me throw it open to anybody on the
Well,
call.
can I just get, you mentioned a certain type of oncologist. Can you slowly say what type of oncologist?
Yes, we can. Are you on the telephone or are you online? You're on the telephone, aren't you?
I'm on the telephone. I can be online in the future. I just
That's okay.
found out about today.
No, I would have just put it in the chat box. It's a genitourinary. So we'll spell that for you. GENITOURINARY, genitourinary.
Okay.
Medical oncologist. And that means a medical oncologist who specializes in the genitourinary area, which would be prostate, bladder, kidney, penis, testicles. Not so much the female sex organs because those are really a GYN oncologist.
Okay. Great.
So
thank you.
That's where we are. So let me go to Dennis first, because I know Dennis sees the doc that we would probably suggest. So Dennis, do you want to have a little chat with John?
Sure. Hi, John. Dennis Correa.
Yes.
I live in Tucson, and I think you said you are in Phoenix?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I do see a GU Medoc at the Mayo Hospital in Phoenix, and his name is Parminder Singh. He's from India. That's P-A-R. If you P-A-R-M-I-N-D-E-R, that's his first name. And the last name is S-I-N-G-H.
Okay.
And I would recommend him. He can be at times a little bit difficult to understand because of the Indian accent, but I've done very well with him. When I got diagnosed, I was also Gleason 9. That was a little 4 years ago, and I searched around high and low for somebody down in the Tucson area, and everybody I checked with came back with that name, Parminder Singh. He was with the University of Arizona, Tucson at that time. And it was a little difficult getting in there because he was very popular. And I did eventually get started with him, but unfortunately I was metastatic at diagnosis. So I had bone mets and others. But he got me in and treated me well. Then he left and joined the Mayo facility up there. And he works both with the hospital and with the clinic. But his office is at the hospital. The clinic is Scottsdale, the hospital's Phoenix there. And he's done very well. After he left and moved away, I inherited another doc down here in Tucson, and he kept telling me everything was fine. I didn't need to do anything. My PSA was rising. And Parminder Singh had told me when he left, he knew it was kind of disturbing for me to have to deal with that. But he said, I'm just going to be in Phoenix. And he says, if you have a problem, call me, and I'll be glad to treat you up there. So that's what I did. Went up, they did the scans, and sure enough, I had 2 new mets had showed up, 2 new bone mets had shown up. And so he got in, and they had what he called a tumor board there, and they would take all the data, and so you had people in different disciplines. You had radiologists and the surgeons and the medical oncologists, as opposed to just going to one doctor that specializes in one thing. So they gave a good review, and for me at that time, after already having chemo and been on Lupron, I went the second line anti-androgen they recommended for me was the Zytiga. And that's worked out very well for several years for me here. So that's about as much. I know we're quite different. I'm 74, and but it's you do have some symptoms from these treatments for sure, and everybody gets them a little bit different, and have different levels of the same issues. But pretty much, if you're, you can fight this thing and have some, maybe get that durable remission. I was beyond that point, unfortunately, but I would keep up hope. But the main thing is, like Rick has said, is you got to get yourself a primary good medical genitourinary oncologist. So he's the one.
Let me, go ahead, John.
Dennis, hopefully someday I can meet you in person since we're in the same state.
Yeah, I'd be glad to do that. Matter of fact, I'm going to be up I now see him for annual appointments. I've been doing so well. My PSA is less than 0.1 now for quite a while. And he set me up with an acquaintance of his, also an Indian geomedoc in the Tucson area. And I see that doc for my routine every 3 months Lupron injection and blood work. And then I see Dr. Singh now only once a year, which I am scheduled to be up there in April, which I don't have the date in front of me, but anyhow.
I want to keep moving here. I like to talk to Ken Anderson, and I'd like to talk to Peter Kafka, and to have them talk a little bit. Peter, because you've already been in touch with Peter, I think, John, and Ken, because he is in Scottsdale too. So Peter, do you want to talk to John a little bit? To follow up on Bill Simons?
Sure, John. Yeah, I got an email from Bob the other day, just mentioning you, not by Bill. I mean Bill Simon, not by name. Yeah. So, on the Schultz level, Dr. Schultz practices with two other gentlemen. One is Dr. Jeffrey Turner, and the other one is Dr. Richard Lamb. And the three of them work together as a team. They don't just share office space. And I've been with Dr. Turner there at that office for 6 years, because I was diagnosed as a Gleason 9 as well, not metastatic originally, also at the age of 66, some 6 years ago. And I've been managing my disease, and it's gotten progressively crazier. I just started chemotherapy last week, and I'm up to that level. But I've been on and off hormone treatment, and I had surgery, and I had radiation, and this and that. And most of my treatment's been in California and so forth. Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with a good urinary medical oncologist, one that you feel comfortable with, because you're going to be with that doctor for a long time, managing this and watching this. And I knew I wasn't going for durable remission. I knew the cat was out of the bag, and I was going to have to just kind of manage this thing with different treatments along the way, and I'm still doing that. I think Rick was alluding to possibly making sure you get some genetic testing done. That's why I was asking you about cancer in your family and your sons and so forth. Because there's some odd, quirky things that go on. I have a genetic mutation that's driving my cancer, 2 of them actually, and one statistically doesn't show up until the age of 66, and all of a sudden, bingo, there it is, and you come down with prostate cancer. I'm not saying you have that, but sometimes it's a simple test, and your urinary medical oncologist can order it for you. Just to have that under your belt, just get as much information as you can. That would be my recommendation, because this is going to be a trip for you. You sound like you've done some research, but there's a lot more to go.
No, I've done research, and I do research for a living. This is extremely comforting and helpful. Well, as I admitted earlier, it's a bit scary. And so it's just nice to hear you guys' tone of voice and encouragement.
Just on the subject of it being scary, Mr. Jackson, can we do a quick commercial on our Speaking Freely call for John? Go ahead.
Can I be heard by any chance? I'm on the phone only now.
Who is this?
This is David Smith.
Yeah, did you have something on this topic, David?
I'm happy to wait. I'm happy to wait my turn to talk. I just want to know that you can hear me.
We can hear you, and we will come to you as soon as we're done with John Hall. That is a promise, and we can hear you.
Not a
great.
problem. Not a problem.
Okay, now
Rich, there you go. How about a quick commercial?
This is Rich Jackson. I'm the moderator for the Speaking Freely call that ANCAN does. It's a non-technical call where we get into the issues that initially hit you between the eyes when the doctor said you have cancer. The fight or flight response, the end of the world response. We meet the 3rd Thursday of every month. So March, I think 16th, but I'll make sure here, will be our next meeting. Actually, March 19th will be our next get together, and you connect to it either the same phone number you called or the computer information that's available. It's the same channel as here. So we do discuss the non-tangible, non-technical side of things, the touchy-feely. I'm scared shitless. I'm sitting on the side of the bed at 2 in the morning with my head in my hands crying. The things that guys do not talk about, but we all do.
It's exactly what you alluded to at the beginning, John, for you to come on that call. One thing I did want to say, both for you and for David Smith, is that if you send me your email, you can send it to rd@ancan.org, rd@ancan.org. We'll get
How do you spell that? How do you MCAN? How do you spell that?
Alpha Nancy Charlie Alpha Nancy.org.
Right.
And if you ANCAN.
Okay, sorry.
And if you go to our website ancan.org, you can sign up directly there yourself, and then you'll get a notification before these meetings. And but send me your email anyway, because it's good for me to have, and I can make sure you're signed up. And let's very briefly stop with Ken Anderson, and then we have to move on because for time. But I did want to stop with Ken Anderson only because he's also in Scottsdale, and he may be around for you guys to have a cup of coffee together. Ken?
Yes, thank you.
I'm waiting for him to switch his microphone on. I can see here. Are you there, Mr. Anderson? I'm watching. He may have stepped away. Well, Ken, are you there? Well, if you send me your email, he's having a problem with his mic. He writes on the he writes in the chat window. We have a chat window that we can see online, John, which you can't see on the telephone. So, John, send me your email, and I will connect you and Ken Anderson, so that you guys can talk to each other.
Okay.
Okay, since he's a neighbor. Or as much as you can be a neighbor in Scottsdale, you probably live about 20 miles apart. I'm down in Tubac, by the way, so I'm also an Arizonan. Okay, let's go to David Smith. David, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, I apologize for the disruption on the meeting. I've been to 2 conferences already this week using this technology. I spend most of my life online, and I didn't have this trouble at all. So even when I muted myself, apparently it didn't help. So I'm just on the phone now, and if people haven't been too upset with my performance so far, I'll take a few minutes to talk about my background.
Okay, David, the only one thing I would say is give GoToMeeting support a call and see if they can troubleshoot with you what was going on. I don't know, but something was weird. But GoToMeeting's a little spotty sometimes, so it might have just been a rough connection or something like that. But anyway, please tell us about yourself.
I'll take that excellent advice. I did get a new monitor, so that may have something to do with it. But I'll be 73 in April. I've had a high PSA by most people's lights for a long time. It's been in the 20s for years, and it started going up about 3 a year. And I figured as long as it, didn't jump real fast, that would be fine. So finally got up into the 30s, and I've been doing a lot of research for the last 4 or 5 years and writing down things that I thought would work and making modifications in my diet and taking supplements and whatnot. And then last fall, it jumped from about, 42 to 60. And then the next thing you know, it was about 85 or 90. And so I went down to Scottsdale to see Dr. Larry Vans, and I saw Dr. Tamburi, who does the color Doppler, and I'd had a color Doppler from him about 10 years ago. And so he confirmed that I had, my prostate was fully involved in prostate cancer, and that looked like it had gotten out a little bit. I did a MRI scan and a CT scan. Didn't appear to be in the bones, didn't appear to be in the organs. And finally got around to doing another biopsy. I was kind of hesitant to do that because of the negative things associated with that. And I have a very high Gleason score. I have a 99% chance of PC. So I wasn't devastated like a lot of people are that never thought about it. I knew I had it. It's just a question of how aggressive do I have to be in relationship to how I want to live. And I was even on a chat room a couple of years ago, something like this. It actually wasn't a chat, it was a blog. And the people from all over the world, guys from all over the world with prostate cancer, it was an advanced PC blog. And, I listened to these people talk about their whole life is involved around getting their PSA from 9 to 3, and they'd take these heavy-duty medications, and they'd have all sorts of problems, and they'd go up to 6, and then they'd take another medication, and then their health was continually declining, and they were becoming more and more decrepit. And, when I suggested doing something like maybe doing something other than either having surgery or radiation or chemo or hormone therapy, I was, people just got really upset. Like this one guy in UK said, "How dare you not to pay attention to your doctor?" So I've never been interested in, following the allopathic model slavishly and bowing down to the PSA score constantly. I know it's an important tool. And when it really started going for me, I realized I had to take another look, and that's what I'm doing. But it's very, very depressing to think that that's the best that medical science can do, is to give us these different types of medications that continually disrupt and demean our health just so we can live a little longer, and to take hormone therapy so that all of your testosterone goes away and you kind of forget who you are. Now, I went to a meeting last week, a local meeting, with 14 other men. They all had various stages of PC. And they were, you know, I know some of them were doing reasonably well. The last guy that talked after I did, he said, I'll be 73. I'm 73. And I looked at him and I thought, my God, he looks like he's 93. And I'm 73, and people are always telling me I look like I'm 53, you know. I'm in good health. So he's going, I take prednisone and 3 other medications, and I'm trying to get my doctor to let me stop taking these things because I'm sad all the time, and I don't have any desire to do anything, and I don't have any energy, and I can hardly get out of bed, and on and on and on. And I'm thinking, that's exactly why I want to avoid all this shit if I can. I want to figure out a different way to do it. And if I have to, maybe I'll do some of it if I have to decide, well, I'm either going to live or die. But I'm backing into the allopathic model, and I'm not willing to start taking a bunch of drugs and taking hormone therapy and a bunch of other stuff so that immediately my quality of life starts declining. That's just not what I'm interested in. And
Where are you
so
located, David?
it's a little discouraging, and I get the feeling just from listening a little bit to the people here that most of them probably would disagree with a lot of what I just said. And I'm not trying to be argumentative, but I just want to tell you that it's not my cancer, it's a cancer. And I'm going to do everything I can to knock it back so that I have a longer period of life, a longer quality of life, and I'll compromise to a certain extent on it, but I'm just not going to do some of the things that take away just about everything that I value in terms of quality of life. And I've seen so many people that have done that, and it just doesn't appeal to me.
Okay, so let me just ask you a couple of questions. Where are you located?
I'm in Washington State.
You're in Washington State, okay. And what is it that what can we help you with? What can
Well,
we?
I'm not sure. You know,
what would you like to know? We have 20 guys on the call, many with some terrific experience here. Tell us how we can help you.
well, I was intrigued to kind of get on the group and see what you guys were doing, and what. And I've only heard a few of you speak, so I'm not trying to characterize anything. But Gene Slattery got me started on this through Dr. Tamburi, and I've talked to Gene a number of times. I'm really impressed with what he's done with his active surveillance, and he's done it pretty much without doing many of the traditional type of things, you know, that men are expected to do. And so I'm looking at cryotherapy. I'm looking at a couple of other things. I will have another blood test here in a few days, and I've been taking some supplements like Indo-3 carbinol, which is the supplement that comes from broccoli.
How can we help you? For those of you who don't know, Gene Slattery is one of the founders of ASPI, the Active Surveillance Group. He has Gleason 7 disease with a PSA in the 20s to 30s, and he's managed it that way for many years. He's in the 70s. We would like to help you in any way we can. We tend to talk mostly about allopathic medicine. But ask us a question and see what sort of answers you get.
Okay, well, my question would be to the group is, have you thought much about how much you're willing to do in order to stay alive? And what are you happy that the decisions you've made now, and how far are you willing to go just to keep going? Is that question something that you thought much about, or have you lost a lot, and is it okay if you lost it? That type of a thing, because I think quality of life is pretty darn important.
Right. Who would like to step in to answer that?
I'll give it a shot, Rick. David, I missed what your Gleason score was. Could you repeat that?
It's the last biopsy. They took 6 snips, and 1 found nothing, and 4 found 4 out of 5, and the next one was 5 out of 5. So I have a 99% chance of prostate cancer, and they determined it's moderately aggressive. And again, that doesn't show in the bones or the organs, but that doesn't mean it isn't in there. But what I'd like to do is find strategies that would push it back a few years. I don't know that I'll be able to get rid of it, but I want it to be less invasive. And one of the things in my research I uncovered is that a lot of at the end of World War II, there were a lot of 100-year-old plus Japanese that were.
David, let me interrupt you because we have a lot of guys on the call. We want to get around everybody. I want to get some answers for you. We have a pretty good feel for where you're coming from. Len, go ahead.
Yeah. So, can you see us, David?
No, because I've signed off so that I won't cause audio issues with my microphone, even though I knew that it doesn't work properly.
Okay. Well, it's very hard for us to give you any advice, especially if you don't know your own Gleason score. That's very important. That would tell us how aggressive your cancer is and what type of treatment would be appropriate for you while still trying to maintain your quality of life. I am going to be 71 in a couple of weeks, and most people tell me I look at least 10 years younger. And I've been treated for prostate cancer now for 6 years. I don't really feel that it's been a major drag on my quality of life. Every one of us is different, of course, but I had radiation therapy and I had hormone therapy, which I tolerated very well. So I guess what I'm trying to say is you can't, use a broad brush to paint all men who are treated for prostate cancer. And as I said, we can't really advise you in any way because we don't even know what your Gleason score is, but it sounds like I think you did say something about it being beyond the prostate gland. Maybe not in the.
It started to go beyond that. And I looked this up while you were talking, and it says a Gleason grade, primary 4, secondary 5, score 9. So I guess my Gleason score is a 9. Does that sound right?
Yep, it does. So, I mean, that's pretty aggressive. I'm also a Gleason 9, and it requires systemic treatment. You can't treat it with cryotherapy or some local therapy. And I would say you may very well have metastases in your bones already, but you haven't had a scan that's sensitive enough to pick it up. So the likelihood of you may have had pretty good quality of life up to now, but without any treatment and fairly soon, I would say, you're likely to start experiencing some serious issues that will affect your quality of life if you don't do anything. That's just my opinion. If I were you, I'd get some more tests. You've said you've done your research. There are some pretty sensitive scans, gallium-68, PSMA, PYL, PSMA. I would have those done and see if you do, in fact, have bone metastases. And then, of course, it's up to you. If you don't want to do anything, you don't need to. But either way, you're going to face quality of life issues with a Gleason 9. This is an aggressive cancer that, well, it'll take you out whether you treat it or not. But the question is, can you extend your life and still maintain some decent quality of life if you do get treated? That's my opinion.
Anybody else want to give some feedback to David?
Yeah, I can step in for sure. My mic's working now, just so you know.
Oh, great.
I can say, David, I grew up in the Northwest in a small town. Oh my God. 1 second. No, I completely hear what you're saying about standard of care treatments. I mean, you are a Gleason 9, though. It's not like you're a Gleason 7. I mean, I don't know that you know the difference between the staging of Gleason scores and how they kind of classify prostate cancer patients? I know there's
I
some
do
great.
have a working knowledge of that,
Good. So,
and I
I
know
mean,
it's serious.
I would love to say that you have the ability, just from my own knowledge. I mean, I'm a Gleason 9. My PSA when I was diagnosed 3.5 years ago or 3+ years ago was 530, and before I started treatment, it was 729. Um, so, I mean, I have aggressive cancer. I don't think, for me personally, I don't think I had the option to take the sit back and wait approach to see whether or not my disease was going to progress, because it was already progressing and I didn't even know it. Luckily, even today, after 3 years, and I've been on ADT for 3 years, right now it's called castrate resistant. I'm no longer, Lupron no longer works. I've switched to Firmagon to see whether or not it gives me any benefit. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but I'm still willing to try some of these kind of standard of care treatments. As far as quality of life, I mean, you can still be physically active. I must say I'm younger than you. It sounds like you're pretty physically active anyway. I got diagnosed when I was 56. Today I'm turning 60 in October. Um, there's a lot of guys, though, way younger than you or I, that get diagnosed with an aggressive cancer that go through lots of different treatments. And don't get me wrong, quality of life does definitely change. I mean, when you go through radiation, chemo, ADT, and first and second line treatments and are trying to figure out what you do next, quality of life changes. And of course, you have to take into consideration, at some point, are you willing to just say, I'm not going to do this anymore? Um, for me personally, and for a number of other guys that I know, they're able to do lots of, outdoor activities, physical activities, hang out with friends on ADT, and quality of life changes very little for them. Some guys, unfortunately, aren't that lucky. ADT just kind of knocks them down, and they're not able to do some of that stuff. So I would just say maybe search out some second and third opinions if you haven't, from some of the top cancer places in the country, and see what they have to say. Washington State has a great University of Washington, Seattle area, even Portland with Tom Beer, they're really great cancer places. Gino, you're a medical oncologist, so in the Northwest, you have some great places to check. You don't have to go anywhere.
Well, I appreciate your insight, both of the speakers, and I'm certainly not making light of it at all, and or putting anybody down on this talk either, because it's an individual decision. I'm seeing a top-rated urologist and oncologist at the UW Medical Center. I was referred to them by one of the co-developers of the PSA, and I respect them a lot. And it's just a matter of trying to make some kind of a decision here. Once I find out my blood test here in a few weeks, because I couldn't do it for about a month after the biopsy, since that raises your PSA. But if
Right.
it's higher or if it hasn't gone down much from what I've done, then I've got to come up with a different strategy. But I'm taking several types of supplements that I've read about over the years that I think make a difference, and we'll find out. But
Right.
it really is it's not an easy choice, I know.
No, it really isn't, and everyone has to go through it when they get diagnosed. I was completely mental. I went through, I was pretty mental, as everyone on this call can kind of attest to. So, I mean, I do
I know
wish
an
them luck.
individual who's 85 years old, and he had Cereces 20 years ago, and he's more robust than I am, and he's just fine. So I mean, there are people that dodge that bullet, but I look at the statistics, and it looks a little on the grim side,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much a factor of the nature of the disease. I mean, the gentleman who's 85 may not have had Gleason 9s, Gleason 8s or 9s. And so, yes, I mean, there are people, I mean, I'm 10 years more. I'm 13 years out with a Gleason 8, and I was diagnosed T3, and I'm doing terrific. I'm in durable remission, but I think that when you start looking at Gleason 9s, you have to be a little more circumspect. And my best advice to you would be what I said to to John Hall, which is have a really good, you mentioned you're being treated at UW. Do you have a genitourinary medical oncologist on board, or are you just seeing a urologist?
I'm a urologist and an oncologist.
And who is the oncologist?
Dr. Lee.
I don't know, Dr. Lee. Is that the lady? Is that, what's her, no. What's the name of the lady? Jake, what's the name of the lady there who, at UW, who did the Gentleman's Project?
Give me a second and I'll tell you, because I have it on a spreadsheet. I kind
Yeah.
of keep track of all those. Give me one
Jake,
second.
she was the lady that ran the Gentleman's Project that you participated in. Okay. Anyway, you know, I think if you're seeing a genitourinary medical oncologist and they're solid, then you're in good hands. You should be in good hands. Is this the Seattle Cancer Alliance or at UW?
It's a UW Medical Center. And
Okay.
John Lee is the doctor. And then Dr. William Ellis is who I'm seeing as a urologist. And Dr. Lee suggested, you know, hormone therapy. And he said he said some people come in and say, I can't do this anymore, and others don't have as much trouble. But it's going to change things for me, you know. Just to get, and what it's going to do, it's going to take, ideally, it's going to take the PSA down. But the question is, what else is it going to do that's positive? I'm trying to figure what that might be, you know.
Yeah, well, you know, one thing to discuss with Lee is whether you should get the primary gland treated, especially if there's no evidence of metastasis from the standard scans at this point in time. And I think if it were me, that's something I would be doing. You know, whether some radiation and therapy to the primary would make sense. But I do want to move on. We've just got an hour left and we've got a lot of guys on the call. I would encourage you to come back, talk about the treatments with us. We'll be very candid with you, as I think we've been on this call. I will say that most of the supplements that you've talked about, kind of like chicken soup, that they may help, they probably won't hurt. But with a Gleason 9 disease, you need more than supplements. You're not going to be able to manage it the way Gene has managed his. That's my opinion. It's not medical advice, but that's what I would suspect.
Okay, well, I appreciate the input of everybody here, and I think I'll probably drop off this evening here. I'll come back on another one if I have something constructive to let you know about, and I do appreciate your time tonight and everybody else to talk as well.
And if you'd like to be put on the reminder list, send me an email at rd@ancan.org. Okay.
All right, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
I'm going to run down my list quickly, and we'll try and get around as many people as we can. Jake, since I forgot you, I'm putting you at the top.
I thought that was the rule. We always put Jake at the top. I thought that was understood. Len knows. Yes, I do have a very quick comment.
Okay. Len, anything for you?
Nothing tonight, Rick. Thank you.
Thanks. Rich Jackson, anything for you?
PSA update, short one.
Short PSA update. Paul Frieda, are you there? Paul, I see your microphone's on. Can we hear your voice? All right, I'll come back to Paul Frieda in a minute, and he may have stepped away. Jim Ward, anything for you?
No, not tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Dennis, anything for you?
Dennis Correa, no. Thank you.
Dennis Correa, thank you for pulling me up on that. Dennis McGuire, anything for you?
No update, Rick. Thanks.
Joe Blanchette, anything for you?
Tiny update.
I'm sorry?
Tiny update.
Tiny update, okay. Carl Foreman, anything for you?
Yes, please.
Okay. Peter, anything for you?
Sure, I'll speak.
Okay. Sylvester, anything for you? Okay.
No, thank you.
Okay. Ken Anderson, anything you'd like to add?
Maybe just a little update on abiraterone if there's time.
Okay. Les Shelderup, anything you'd like to say tonight?
Not tonight, thank you.
Okay. Larry Fish, anything for you?
I'm good tonight, Rick. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to come back to Paul Frieda. Paul, can we hear you this time? You know, I don't know what's going on. This has got to be something to do with this new GTM system, but it's happening to too many people that they're talking and we're not hearing them.
We also have someone on the telephone. Caller 5 dropped off of somebody else's caller 3. Is there someone who called on the telephone who has not been identified yet?
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like Paul Frieda can't speak, or we couldn't hear him on the phone for some
Yeah, we can't hear you, Paul. And I don't know what's going on. We'll have to try and see. It may be teething problems with their new issue. I don't get it. I was there. My mic seemed open. Don't know why you could not hear me. What we all want to say to you, Paul, is, and we'd love to hear your voice, is that our heart really goes out to you. And we've missed you. And we've talked about you. And we are very, very pleased to see you online with us. And, you know, welcome back to this group. Hopefully, I'll check in again before the end and see if that microphone is working again. But it may not be you, it may be a GTM problem. And we have to chase GTM up after the meeting and see what the heck's going on here.
Rick, Paul just texted me or chatted. He does want to speak tonight. I don't know how we're going to do that. I guess maybe he'll have to get on the phone.
Yeah, call in, Paul. So I've got a tick by your name and we'll hold on and we'll come back to you. All right, let's get rolling. Mr. Jackson, I think you said you have a PSA update. Was that it?
Yeah, I did the blood work on the 26th of February for the clinical trial. PSA was 2.2.
2.2. So
up from 1.9 a month earlier.
1.9 a month earlier. Okay. Okay. So what do you deduce from that?
According to the chart that I've got, it's right on track for screaming through the stratosphere early or later this year.
Okay. Okay. And have you heard anything more about the trial?
Did the CT scan, bone scan today, waiting on results. Then have to send that off to see if I meet the criteria completely.
Okay. And what are those criteria other than the PSA?
No metastasis.
Okay. Okay. So that's and that's with a
PSMA with a new tracer agent.
Sorry, what type of no metastasis with what type of scan? Just a standard scan.
Yeah, CT and bone scan, no metastasis.
Right.
Blood
Right,
works
right.
normal.
But the trial is for PSMA LU-177?
No,
Not
it's
not
it's a different agent.
LU-177, Jake.
What's the trial?
PYL, isn't it, Rich?
Let's see. Find it here.
Yeah. DCF Pyl. The LU-177 is a palliative treatment, is a managing treatment. This is just for scanning, Jake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Rich is going to be going to the NIH to get the same scan I had, I believe.
Right.
Yeah, the study title is F-DCF Pyl PET/CT in high risk and recurrent prostate cancer.
Right.
So basically, we're going to go and take a picture and look and see what's there.
Right. So what we're hoping is that we don't see any sort of metastasis on the CT scans and the bone scans, but we'll find whatever's there on the 18F DCF PYL.
That's the rough plan.
Right. Okay. Anybody want to say anything to Rich?
Well, good luck with the scan. At least you'll know for sure the status of your disease when you get that PYL scan. There's nothing more sensitive, so it'll give you an accurate picture, and you'll know what to do going forward. Good luck.
Thanks. Any questions for us? Any other questions for Len or anyone else who's done the scan? Rich?
As far as I know, I just lay there and then they read it. So there's not a whole lot involved.
Okay. Okay.
I don't think they're going to ask me to participate too much.
Nope. So all you have to do is be passive.
Yeah.
I can handle that.
You've got some great advice already from Len. He told you all the places to, the best places to stay. He did not give you the best places to eat, I noticed, but he did give you, there's probably some good Italian restaurants around there as well.
I ate at the hotel, which had some pretty decent. Oh yeah, there was I guess it was like a Thai or Asian fusion truck that came right up to the hotel, and it was really good stuff.
Roach Coach.
Perfect. There you go. Added bonus from attending ANCAN virtual group meetings. Okay. So let's keep going down. Paul Frieda, speak up. Can we hear you? No. Sorry, we can't hear you. Call in. Use the telephone and call in. That might be the only thing we can do right now. And you know, call into GTM support after this meeting and see if you can troubleshoot this from your end as well.
He did send a message saying he's having problems, but thank you for all the condolences.
Yeah, I know. I did see that. For those of you who need it, the support line for GoToMeeting is, hold on a minute, it is 877-582-7011. I'll just put it quickly in the in the window here. 877-582-7011. and we recommend you call in and talk to them as to what's going on. Okay. Oh, I sent that to Len. I meant to send it to everybody. Len, could you post that in the window again for me to everybody as the support line? Thanks. Okay. So we've spoken to Rich. We will get to Paul. Joel Blanchette, you have a quick update for us.
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody of the PSA. My PSA has been going sideways for the past 8 years. Last May was 0.3, and in August it was 0.7, 0.9 in November. Went to NIH, that's PYL, PSMA PET scan in November and December. And there it jumped up to 1.02. And 4 hours before my 3 SBRT treatments a couple of weeks ago, I was jumped up to 1.26. So it's been going straight up basically since the 0.3 reading. But then I did qualify for the PSMA because I needed to be above the 0.5 for that. Basically all that's going on is that when my PSA came back, I sent it to Dr. Antonarakis at Johns Hopkins. I told him that the radiation oncologist wanted the PSA every, needed to see me with a PSA in May, 3 months from the end of the radiation. He said, no, I want to see you with a PSA on March 10, April 10, and May 10. And he says, send them to me. So I told him I would. So that's where I am. He's interested in monitoring my PSA a little closer to see if I'm going to flare up or if I'm going to come down. So that's the latest on me, a short update.
So the last PSA you had was 1.26 in early February. When are you doing your next PSA?
10 March.
The end of 10 March. Okay.
And then 10 April, then 10 May.
Okay. All right. So you're going to do monthly. So you're going to do monthly PSAs.
Right.
One question for you, and then we'll come back and see if anybody wants to just follow up with you. Do you have any advice for Rich Jackson with respect to the NIH scan?
I mean, and to the second guy who's brand new, that if he's still on, the scans don't hurt. The scan's not going to change your quality of life or your treatment options. So it just gives you more feedback on where the cancer is. So so to me, that's a no-brainer. You got to do a scan and find out where the cancer is. I had not done anything since my prostatectomy for 8.5 years. So yeah, the PSMA scan is nothing. I even took Uber to NIH 4 or 5 times, and they did my scans. They did a biopsy, took 3 parts of my iliac bone out, and they all tested positive for prostate cancer. But the NIH is extremely professional, extremely smooth going, and they dedicate all their attention to you when you're there. So it's an very easy thing to go through.
Okay, thanks, thank you. And anybody have any questions for Joel before we move along? Okay. So
Paul's on the phone.
This is Paul. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
We can hear you just fine. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, and apparently I'm on the phone here, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So tell us how you're doing overall, and how are you managing, and how's life?
We're not doing very well. My daughter's hasn't gone to school for 2 weeks. We're getting lined up with grief therapists.
Are you there, Paul?
Well, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Did we
Okay.
lose you?
And so we're having a rough time. It's not going to be easy. It's more
wait a
difficult
minute.
than you can ever imagine unless you've lost a child.
Hold on a minute.
So-
Hold on a minute, Paul.
Rick, I think it's your problem now because I can hear Paul loud and clear.
I don't know what's going on here.
Wow.
Jake, have you got any
Jake,
bright
can you hear
ideas
me?
what's going on here with Paul?
Yeah, we can hear him, Rick. We can hear you, but if you can't hear
We
him,
could
then
hear you fine, and then we lost you completely.
Well, try this. Hold on one second.
It's you, Rick, because we all hear him just fine.
I don't
Rick,
think
can you hear me now? Rick, can you hear me now? Rick, can you hear me now?
Glenn, any thoughts?
Can you hear me now, Rick? No?
Huh.
Well,
Paul, it's Rick's issue, not yours. We all hear you.
I'm not hearing anybody.
Yeah.
oh,
What's
gosh.
wrong with this system today?
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, Rick, I found signing off and coming back on helped me be able to hear others.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, we hear you.
All right, Len, why don't you take over? There's something going on with the system, and I don't know what it is.
Okay.
I think it's a function of our age.
No. Go ahead, Paul. We can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear
All
you,
right, so
Paul.
just a brief report. My blood test came back. For everyone who's not familiar, I'm on intermittent. I've been off Lupron. I was on Lupron for 3 years, and now I've been off for about a year and a half. And my
speak up, see if I can hear
my
you.
testosterone.
Say something.
My testosterone has got back to about 230, and my PSA is undetectable, and my oncologist is ecstatic. He says I'm doing great.
Well, that's pretty good news. That's pretty good news, I would say.
Yeah.
For you. Yeah. So your daughter and you are going to start grief counseling, and that's probably a good thing. I mean, it's a bloody hard thing to go through. I don't know how you guys are doing it.
I can't reboot without making someone else.
It's awful. There's no two ways about it. The only thing I can think of that is similar is if you lose a child, and then that's something you just never get over, losing a child.
Well, hopefully you don't have to deal with the cancer for a few months or a year. So.
Paul, this is Len. I'm sorry. We were trying to deal with Rick interrupting because he can't hear anything. But could you repeat again what your PSA result was?
No, the PSA is undetectable still, even though the testosterone is at around 230.
Oh, that's great. Fantastic news. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. My oncologist is very, very happy.
Yeah.
Paul, this is Jim Ward. I'm sorry, go ahead. Somebody was about to say something.
Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, Paul, this is Jim Ward. Intermittent HT is something some of these people know on the call that I dream about. And I was curious, when did you, how long had you been on hormone therapy? And then when did you, assuming this was your first time that you've taken a drug holiday, when did you begin this drug holiday?
I was on Lupron for 3 years, and then August of last year. Is it August of last year? No. August of 2007. Let's see. Let me get this straight here. Yeah, it's August of 2017 was my last shot, and then I went through August of 2018. Then I went through all of 2019 with no Lupron, and I'm still, we're in March now, and I haven't had a Lupron shot for about a year and a half. And, and the Lupron, the testosterone came back very slowly, about 30 points every 2 months. And now it's about 230, something like that. So I've been a year and a half
I'm sorry, how much did
on holiday.
Sorry. How much did it go up over time?
About 30. The testosterone went up about 30 points every 6 weeks or 2 months approximately. Came back very slowly. I think the first 1 or 2 blood tests, it didn't move at all, and then started moving very slowly. And now it's finally back at about 230. And that's and the PSA is undetectable.
And
I'm a Gleason 8, but I'm a 4-4. I'm a 4-4, by the way.
Wow. Okay. I take it your PSA has been undetectable throughout this period.
Yes, absolutely. I haven't seen PSA above 0.1 for as long as I can remember. I mean, all 3 years of the Lupron, it was totally undetectable. When I first got the first Lupron shot, it had gotten up to about, I don't know, 5 or 6 or something like that, and that was about it.
I mean, you're saying that's as high as your PSA ever got?
Say that again?
You're saying that's as high as your PSA ever got was 5 or 6?
Well, after the prostate surgery. After the prostate surgery coming out, it was 0.22, and then it took like a year and a half or so before it started to get to a point where I needed to pay attention to it. But when before the prostate surgery, I think it got up to 19. But you have to understand, I had a large prostate, and so I was for like almost 10 years, my PSA was like between 9 and 14, and just consistently there because I had a large prostate.
Well, so yeah, maybe I can talk to you about it offline, but I'm just I'm
sure,
I'm the guy that is looking for this opportunity. If not, it won't happen. It won't happen any sooner than about 9 months from now at the earliest. But I love to hear success stories of people like you, and so congratulations.
I'll send you my email and phone number in the message box in a minute or so. Okay. This
sorry,
is Jim Ward. You're Jim Ward. Jim Ward.
Yeah, I'm just a phone guy though, so I'm sure I can get your contact.
Oh, you can't see the screen. Yeah. Okay.
Through Rick, I'll get your contact information through Rick.
Yeah. Well,
again, congratulations.
Well, it's actually very simple. pfreda@gmail. PFREDA.
FREDA. PFREDA@gmail.
At Gmail. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, great. Well, Paul, again, congrats. That's wonderful news. I'm glad to hear it for you.
Thanks.
Paul, to save me waiting and to listen to the recording, can you give me your wonderful news? Your PSA is still low?
What did you wanted to know? My PSA is undetectable, and the testosterone's around 230.
Fantastic. Okay, that's what we love to hear. Fantastic.
I guess I should ask one more question. How do you feel with your testosterone at 230?
I don't feel any. Well, I take that back. I think I do have a higher libido now. I look at women's legs a little more often than I did before, and so I actually think that there's some of that has come back.
Oh, good. I'll be in touch. I'd love to hear more about how your journey has gone. So.
Okay, be happy to tell you.
It's Larry Fish. Hi, congratulations. Any changes with musculature? Is it easier to put on muscle, and do you notice that at all?
Well, I've had a couple of other health problems. I had gallbladder surgery that put me out of commission for about a month, and then I had tennis elbow. My exercise is tennis, and I had tennis elbow that put me. So right now I'm very out of shape. So I really can't tell whether I'll be able to build muscle mass when I go back to the gym any faster than I did before. But I can say that more than a year ago, when I was on, still in the on holiday, when I did join the gym, within 6 weeks I noticed enormous changes in how I felt. I would work out for about an hour on the machines, and in about 6 weeks I felt like, I walk around the house feeling strong like a bull. whereas before I was really, really weak. And so it came back pretty quick a year ago, and I'm hoping it'll do the same thing when I finally get back to the gym soon.
Okay, thank you. I certainly hope it comes back quick.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Well, guys, I'm sorry I don't know what's going on with GTM today, but I'm on the telephone and I'm following you on the computer, so this should work at least until the end of the course. And Paul, that's really great news, and I'll give you a buzz in the next day or so I can catch up with you.
Okay, Rick. Thank you.
Carl Foreman, why don't you take the floor?
Okay, boy, I had a particular question, but I'm tabling that. And with Paul, at some point, maybe for a future discussion, to see that the benefit of his treatments, what he attributes to his success. But I'll put that also on the side. The other thing I know, there's been a lot of discussions about scans. And I think we can have a not tonight, but a more lengthy discussion. For me, I understood that, rightfully or wrongfully, that I have no need for a scan until my PSA starts to move or my alkaline phosphatase starts to move. My PSA has been undetectable. And even at my latest, what was that? I hope everybody hears me. My latest PSA, again, is continuing to be undetectable. And I should have asked the oncologist just last week that I had a meeting, said, okay, so when do I have my next scan? And there's been discussions about different types of scans here tonight. I've had an aximum scan, I guess was the last one I had some time ago. I can't even tell, maybe it was a year ago, I don't know. But the initial aximum scan, the one and only I had, the radiologist had looked at it and he says, I really don't have anything to compare against. So that leads me to believe I probably would need an aximum scan as my next one. But that, again, opens it up as a discussion. We can discuss it, at the next forum. I'll be glad to wait for that.
No, I mean, your issue is how often should I think? I mean, I think that's the crux of your question, isn't that right?
Yes.
And no, it's something we should talk about. We have a valid question to ask tonight. I mean, we generally, most of the men on this call who have metastatic cancer will get scanned anywhere from every 6 months to every 18 months. Let me throw it open. There's a bunch of you on here and a bunch of you getting scanned regularly. And what do your various medical oncologists say to you about how often you should get scanned? You pick on Ken Anderson to start off with.
Well, it's funny you would bring that up for me, Rick, because at the moment I'm battling with Blue Cross Blue Shield to approve a PET scan here locally. They've denied it twice. So I'm not sure if I'm just going to give in and go for the CT scan or if I'm going to get on a plane and fly to Houston and get a PET scan. For whatever reason, it seems like MD Anderson gets the bloody thing passed through, or I never get a bill for it, so I don't know who's paying for it. So I don't know. But to answer your question, I'd say every 6 months. That's what kind of Paul's, at least for advanced prostate cancer, he wants to know whether or not the burden increases every 6 months. Again, my PSA is going up, though, so it may be different based on that. So if your PSA is pretty flat, I don't think you necessarily need, a scan every 6 months. But I'd leave it to your oncologist. I'd put the question to him to confer.
Dennis Correa, your PSA is pretty flat. You have metastatic disease. How often does Dr. Singh suggest you get scanned?
Once a year. Yeah, I'll be going in April.
Okay. Okay. Who else? Who else can chip in here? Nobody? No one else want to talk about how often they get scanned?
Rick, this is Dennis again. I'd add one thing. I think we've talked about it before, especially when the data is showing that for a long time on ADT, you can go to move to a neuroendocrine, and that will not show in your PSA. So I think that's one very good reason to continue to get scanned.
Yeah. Yeah, that has come up before, that the more advanced you get and as your disease morphs, it may not produce PSA in the same way. Carl, you never produced high PSA anyway, isn't that right?
The highest that I had, that within a matter of 6 weeks, it went from 5.9 to 20. And that's when I went onto the Zytiga and I had my robotic surgery and
right,
etc.
Right.
Carl,
Well, anyone else? Peter Kafka, do you want to? What's your thoughts on how often you should get scanned?
Well, in my situation, it's as needed because I'm just doing PSMA scans. So, whenever I see movement, I scan to find out where the action is and what the format of treatment might be. So, I'll probably do a scan after my 4th chemo. That's the thought, and see where things are.
Anyone else want to talk about how often they get scanned? Larry Fish, how often do you get scanned?
Well, the protocol for me is once a year, and if can be every 6 months if the PSA starts to. I have this PSA that jumps up and then comes back a little and then goes up and comes back. If it goes up a couple times, it triggers a scan, but basically we've been putting it off to once a year for the last couple of years.
Anyone else want to, Len?
I just wanted to ask Carl if he is still on olaparib.
Yes, I am.
Oh, anything else or just olaparib?
Eligard, Xgeva, olaparib.
Yeah, so apparently, your treatment regimen is working. It's keeping your PSA undetectable. I wouldn't worry about a scan.
Yeah, I would agree. I think if olaparid's keeping your PSA down, I think you're golden. I'm happy for you.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, the oncologist had said it's not only the PSA per se, but it's some side effects, and that's something I had wanted to talk to once before, but we didn't have a chance to have a detailed discussion about it. But again, we're running against the clock right now. But like for example, just quickly, metastasis to the pelvic bone. As I'm sitting here in front of my computer, I have some discomfort in my butt. So does that necessarily mean that it's a good idea to get a scan, and also what type of scan? Several of you talked about going to NIH. Is that something where you have to qualify in order to be able to get the scan at NIH?
Let me just address the first part of that. I am a believer in fairly regular scans, at least every year, if not every 6 months, because we don't know that PSA always tells the whole story, as Dennis Correa mentioned. And if you have MET, and if your PSA is continuously low, it would be helpful for you to know if your metastasis had changed in size since the last scan. Now, one problem you're faced with is getting the same scan again, because if you go, say, from an Axumin scan to a PSMA-68 scan, you may see more metastasis this time around, only because it wasn't picked up the last time around. So, it's usually a good idea to try and get scans with the same type of scan if you're looking for that comparison. Otherwise, it might not necessarily be apples to apples. But whilst you're doing great and your PSA is low, I mean, if you've got some discomfort, if it were me, I probably would ask for a scan. When was the last time? When was the Axumin scan? How long ago, Carl?
It's probably close to a year. I don't have records in front of me, but I think it's close to a year.
Well, I would say at a year, for me, that's what I would be asking for.
So insurance, I guess, generally doesn't necessarily need to have a specific reason. Well, they always need a reason to have any kind of procedure, right? But I just didn't know whether I'm going to have a fight with the insurance company because I am undetectable.
Well, but you have metastatic disease.
Right.
You're undetectable with your PSA, but that doesn't mean to say you don't have metastatic cancer.
Right.
And we're suppressing the PSA with the Eligard.
Okay.
Ken can talk to you more about this, but Ken just got turned down because I think the FDA, the Medicare directive is every 6 months minimum, and Ken, you were like a few days short of 6 months, correct?
No, it's a little more than that. The app, that I don't believe the standard of care for scans includes a PET scan. So, like Blue Cross Blue Shield doesn't consider anything but CT and an MRI to be, they think that's acceptable today. That was the reason they turned it down, is because it was a PET scan, not a CT scan. They're like 25 years behind the times in regards to the new technologies. I wrote a letter to Bob Bulla, who's the guy who runs Blue Cross Blue Shield in Arizona, and complained like crazy because I got turned down twice. But the fact is that possibly it could have been two things. It could have been it was within 6 months. I was thinking that was the reason, but not based on the letter they sent me. The letter they sent me stated that it wasn't standard of care. So they didn't want to pay it because, go ahead, Rick.
Well, I was going to say the standard of care, it is standard of care for Medicare.
I'm not on Medicare, though.
I realize that, which means that it's strictly comparable for Carl, because Carl is now on Medicare.
Yes.
Yeah. You're outside a year, Carl. I didn't know you were that far out. I'd get a bloody scan if I was you. I would think 6 to 8 months if you're an advanced cancer, as Rick was stating, because a lot of guys don't produce a lot of PSA. It doesn't sound like you produce a lot of PSA. So I'd want to know whether or not there's a burden, meaning there's activity. But as Rick stated, you'd want to try to do similar type scans so you can compare apples to apples. But I would, at 12 months, I would definitely ask for another scan to see where you're at.
Okay. All right.
Paul and
Appreciate it.
MD Anderson says, for me personally, and I'm an advanced guy, at least 9, he says every 6 months. If I was to fly to MD Anderson for whatever the reason, they'd give me a PET scan and my bloody insurance would pay for it. Or at least I wouldn't get a bill. I don't know if they hide it someplace and I don't know how they do it, but I never see a bill for it. So I don't know. But I'd get a PET scan. I'd get a scan. I don't know what the Axiom scan or whatever it is you had last to do a comparison.
Right. And again, for the comparison purposes, it sounds to me then I would get another Aximum for good comparison.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
And at some point, if you are looking to see where the disease might be for any good reason, you could switch to a PSMA scan, but in your case, you really don't need that PSMA scan. You don't need that level of detail.
Uh-huh.
Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, Peter and Len and Rich Jackson are trying to figure out where the source of the PSA rise is coming from. You know where the source of you know where it is. You just want to know if you've got more Mets or less Mets.
Yes.
And so you don't have to have such a fine scan as we're talking about at NIH. But, and of course, even the PSMA 68 is still, so you still have to get that in a trial environment.
Okay, I appreciate the clarification.
Sorry?
Yeah, no, I was just say I appreciate the clarification. That's good.
Okay. Well, let's again, sorry to rush you. With the two new guys, we were squeezed today. Let's keep moving along because I still want to start with Peter Kafka, with Ken, and hold on a second. Jake, did we talk to you or did we not talk to you? What happened?
You broke the golden rule. Call on Jake first. This is no controversy there.
Okay. Sorry, Peter. Sorry, Ken. We've got to go to Jake.
I'm happy to let Jake go. I'm happy. I can go next week.
No,
We've got time. We'll get there and we'll get to Peter.
We'll get to everybody because I'm brief. Last week I told you that my testosterone had gone from minus or less than 3 to 119. Rick and Len and a couple other people recommended I get a second T-test, which I did. It came back as less than 3. So the 119 must have been an anomaly, a lab error, or they might have even switched the tubes. So, and the moral of the story is listen to Rick and Len. They're right most of the time.
What about, Jake, what about your PSA? Did you get that tested again too?
Well, I thought I did, Rick, but they didn't give me that number. So I think they might have just tested the T. So I'll be able to go online and find out on Wednesday, but they didn't give me a PSA test when they called me today. So I think it was just a testosterone. So the 119 was an outlier, probably somebody totally different. Maybe somebody who's gotten off of testosterone, getting off of ADT and is trying to get their testosterone back up.
Wish it would have been me.
Right. And that's it. That's all. I told you it would be short.
Okay, well, we love to see you. I think more, now we've solved the T problem, but we would sure love to know if anything's working and if your PSA is going down too, since that probably wasn't a very reliable PSA of 40, whatever it was from memory either.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it is possible that your treatment could be working.
Possible. I'm not very hopeful. I don't think it is myself. But yeah, it would have. I'll get another PSA near the end of March. And she repeated again. She said, we need to give it 90 days. That's her mantra. For anybody who doesn't know, I'm on Apple.
Len, bail me out here, please.
No, I think Jake has got it right, because if she wants to keep him on apalutamide for 90 days, there's no point in rushing back for a PSA test now. No matter what it is, she's going to keep him on apalutamide. So might as well wait till March. What did you say, the end of March?
Yeah. 2 weeks.
Unless you want to.
No, I agree, Rick. I agree, because it's not going to change course of action. If she wants to know whether or not 90 days produces any results, he's got to wait. So it'll just make him nuts hate to say it, Jake, it'll make you more nuts if you go down there and get these dang labs and your PSA is going up. And I just wait the 90 days and find out where it's at. So,
Well, I guess what I'm thinking is that maybe it's gone down, and maybe it'll make him feel a lot better. What if instead of it going from 37.1 to 47.8, it went from 37.1 to 20?
well, I can understand that as well. I honestly, Jake, if you had labs done for your T levels, I'm sure they pulled blood and pulled your PSA. So call those buggers back and just ask them. Better
Well,
to
I
know
did.
than, yeah.
I did, Ken. I called them back today and they said they would get back to me. They did not. They're closed on Tuesdays. So I'll find out on Wednesday when I can go online to get my labs directly from LabCorp then.
So if you're going to go in at the end of the month, if they did, fine. If not, I'd go in the end of March and get your dang labs done when you have it planned.
Right.
So we know how much you like to leave the house.
You're right about that.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. Peter, talk to us.
Well, I started my first chemo infusion last Thursday. Feeling kind of weird. My Dr. Turner, when I reported in my dosages and stuff, he thought maybe my carboplatin was a little on the high side. And so I'm going to I meet with my doctor a week from Wednesday here, and I'll talk that one through with him, make sure the dosage is right. Yeah, I kind of feel weird. I'm thinking of volunteering. I'm thinking of taking a plane down to Wuhan and volunteering over there for a while.
Oh boy!
So
I think I might be more. I think I might be more useful there than here, right? Anyway, but
Did you get the new Lasta patch along with the chemo the day?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I got the 27-hour later injection. I felt that. But I don't have any bone meds, so that's not killing me. The new Lasta shot. I feel it. But I did go snorkeling today. My older son and his family, a couple of my grandchildren from Canada are down here, and I got out in the ocean and went snorkeling today. I'm showing up. Yeah, just kind of queasy and not feeling great. So the good news is that I applied for the Bayer patient help thing, whatever it's called, the patient assistance program, Bayer patient assistance, and they approved me for darolutamide till the end of the year. So I just got another, I finished the DUDE trial, just about done with that, but I got my third bottle in the mail Friday. So that's good news.
Peter?
The darolutamide, I think I'm still hormone sensitive because my darolutamides dropped my PSA by 3/4. It went down from 2 to 0.5, and it's stayed around 0.5 the last several months. So, but it doesn't seem to go below that. But I think the darolutamide's still working, and I'm still taking it with the chemo. So that's essentially where I am. I feel like I'm getting good care here, and I will I'll keep writing it and see how I do.
Peter, I have one question, and I know Jake I think has a question, but I'm confused how the carboplatin might have been the wrong dosage, because didn't Turner huddle with your local guy on the dosages?
I don't know. I don't know. I asked the nurses, and they said the dosage is determined by your weight and your body size and stuff. So this is a question I got to ask. I told them it was 154 on the taxotere and 150 milligrams on the carboplatin. And when I reported that to Turner, he said it sounds a little bit high. and I need to look at the blood work. So when I meet with the local doc here, I'll go over all that. It hasn't killed me, but I just got to question it.
Yeah, I wonder if, and the question I would be wanting to ask is whether those dosages are modified if the two are being given in conjunction.
Yeah, I will check. I've got a lot of questions on that kind of stuff. But what they do is they weigh you in, and then I asked the nurse that one, the chemo nurses, and they said it's determined by your weight and size and everything. But I'll pursue that one a little bit more for sure.
Okay. Jake, did you have a question about the darolutamide buddy program?
Well, yeah, no, I'm familiar with the program. I was just wondering, and Peter answered it. He is taking the darolutamide while on chemotherapy. That kind of
Yes, I am.
I thought they would stop that, but I
my
didn't.
doc suggested I keep on it,
Okay.
so I'm doing it.
Okay.
I'm tolerating that one very well. I mean, I'm handling darolutamide fine, just like Glenn is. It's
Right.
I don't feel a little bit. Now I don't even know where the nausea comes from. I have a little bit of nausea, but not bad.
Can you get marijuana there or CBD, Peter, in Maui?
Oh, sure, of course, Maui Wowie.
Well, I'll try it. I think it might help. It might help the nausea for sure.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if I do the cookies or the gummy bears, but I might try the CBD oil or something.
Are you actually throwing up or just feeling sick to your stomach?
Just a little queasy. I'm not throwing up yet. No dry heaves at all. I mean, this is only the first shot. I mean,
right.
Still 2 weeks out on the next one, so we'll see. Yeah.
Anybody have anyone else have any questions for Peter?
No, just lots of luck on the next one. Keep us posted, yeah. Not good when the first round goes a little sideways. I did notice.
I'm snorkeling today. It's not terrible. It's not the worst.
Yeah.
I'm still driving.
I did hear Fong stated that he thought there was synergy between darolutamide and chemo. So I think it's great you're staying on darolutamide. I did notice the very first round when I started chemo back a long time ago, it seems like now, that I felt weird and lightheaded. But after that maybe the first 2 weeks, the next few rounds were actually easier until I got to the 5th and 6th round, and then I was not in good shape. I didn't feel, but I thought the rounds, other than that first week or two after that first injection, when they first injected me, I had like crystals floating around in my head. I was like, plus I had shingles, and I was mental about taking chemo anyway. But hopefully you'll find the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th rounds not to be too difficult.
I'm hoping so.
Peter, do they give the two different chemo drugs one right after the other?
Yes. Yeah, sequential. Start with taxotere and switch over to carboplatin.
Okay.
Any other questions for Peter? Well, you are leading the way there, you trailblazer. You're doing great, and we're proud of you, Peter. So feel good. Track down what's going on with those dosages. Don't hesitate to call us if you need any support or got any questions or you want to talk to anybody who's done this, well, we don't know a lot of people that have done docetaxel and carbo at the same time that we can talk to right now. We know some people, but we can't talk to them. But anyway, I just I hope you're feeling good, and I'm especially proud of the fact that you went snorkeling today. That's dynamite. Good for you.
Right.
How much longer is your older boy with you for?
It's throughout the week. They leave Monday.
Okay, well, enjoy them. Have fun
Yes.
and enjoy them. Did you get to see John Appler?
No, I've called several times, but I'm walking distance to his house where I am here at Susan's, but he seems to be busy. I will keep trying. Maybe tomorrow morning I'll see if I can catch him.
Wander down and leave him a little message on his door.
Yeah, I will.
All right. It's only 4 minutes past 8, so we have time for Mr. Anderson. Quickly. What's going on there?
Well, mine's a quick one for Lynn. Lynn, what do you think about taking magnesium? I started taking prednisone, 10 milligrams of prednisone about 4 days ago, along with abiraterone. And, my legs, the first night, I had like 30 muscle cramps that night, one right after the other, all night long. So I was reading up that magnesium may assist. What are your thoughts?
I've heard that as well, and in fact, I take a combo of calcium, magnesium, and zinc, and I find that when I take that, I don't get any cramps at night. But if I skip it for a couple of days, I will get leg cramps. I don't know
Okay.
for sure if it's the combination or magnesium alone would be sufficient.
Is it from
But
prednisone or is it abiraterone you think creating it, or do you don't know?
the cramps. I really don't know.
It's all right. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
That was pretty much my only thing, Rick. I have labs on Friday, so I don't have any results. I'm sure my PSA is going to be up again, but we'll see when the results come out.
Ken,
So,
most people actually feel better while they're on prednisone.
I can tell you the abiraterone is kicking my butt for some reason. I was out late last night, and today I was went to a birthday party and maybe had a few too many wines and didn't get home until 11:30, and I'm usually in bed by 9, so that might have did me in right there. But I was pretty fatigued today, so
The
I don't know
prednisone,
if
people get a lot of people get better appetite. They gain weight, and they feel better. They have less joint pains than they normally did. Dennis Correa will tell you that.
the funny thing
Yeah,
is, go ahead, Dennis.
the other thing, Ken, is another product that's topical. It's TheraWorks, TheraWorks, I believe. It's a topical, like a foam. It's a pump dispenser. You get it. It's off the shelf at the drugstores. And you can put that on as a preventive before you go to bed at night.
Is it for cramps?
Yes, exactly. That's what
Oh.
it's for. You rub it on the muscle, 2 applications. The first one you rub in, the second one you leave it on there a little bit and just let it evaporate. But it'll prevent cramps, or if you get a cramp in the middle of the night, you can put that stuff on. It'll be gone within a minute.
I'll go buy some. I think I'm going to try this.
It's magnesium. It's magnesium.
Oh, gotcha.
The other thing is Epsom salts. The old style Epsom salts, that's magnesium. You could do a soak in a tub with your legs, and that'll help.
I haven't done that since I was like 9. My mom and grandma used to put me in a tub with Epsom salt.
Yep.
So not gonna go there. So I'll get the topical. So
Yeah.
there was one other thing, and that was I already forgot it.
That's the abiraterone, Ken.
Holy moly. No, it was way worse on enzalutamide. It was like crazy bad on enzalutamide. I couldn't remember anything. That's it, Rick, though. We can close the meeting. I'm good.
All right, I will connect you to John Hall, provided that I get John. Well, I'll get John Hall's email from.
Yes,
we'll get it
thank
from
you.
Bill Simon.
Thank you.
Oh, you're still with us, John?
Yes, absolutely. This has been very encouraging for me.
John,
Oh,
I
good.
live in Scottsdale. We can chat anytime you want. I'm 60. I'll
look
be
forward to
six. I'll be 60 this year, so I'm a little younger, but not that much. 66 isn't that far away, so I'll be happy to chat anytime you want. I've been dealing with it for 3 years.
Well, great. No,
Say
this
something
is
to John
very,
Hall.
very helpful.
Rick,
Yes.
can I say something to John? I thought
Yes.
you had left us. I didn't realize you're back on the phone. I'm 66 also. I also have 2 boys, Gleason 8. And I just wanted to reassure you that I've had cancer for 10 years in July, and I'm still doing okay. So it's not a death sentence. It's, everybody gets different mileage, but chances are you'll be around for quite a long time.
Thank you.
John,
And thank
John
you.
Hall, one
Jake,
thing.
you're my idol.
John Hall, one thing I did want, the reason I asked you about your boys also is just to make sure that they're getting PSA tested. How old are they?
32 and 34.
So it doesn't hurt for them to get a baseline.
Yeah.
And then they don't need to do it again for another 5 years. And most people will tell you, they're too young. It's just a blood test. And it doesn't hurt, and then they test again in 4 or 5 years, and it gives them a frame of reference.
Okay, great, thank you.
They can go to Safeway. Sonoran Quest has a lab in most Safeways for $30. You can get a PSA test. You don't even need to go to your doctor.
Wow.
And send me that email, Mr. Hall, and we'll connect you to Mr. Anderson, and the 2 of you can get a cup of coffee sometime soon. All right.
Very much so.
It's been a strange meeting. I don't know what's going on with GoToMeeting, but I'm going to call them right now and see if I can get to the bottom of it. Too many people have had issues, and this is the first time I think that's ever happened. So, but we will talk to you all again next Tuesday. And just a quick heads up that in case you know anybody, keep it in mind, we're starting a blood cancers group in April, and we're starting an ovarian cancer group in April. You can sign up for the blood cancers group on the website now, as of today. But there'll be more. I'll be writing more about that. We'll be publicizing it better. But I just wanted to let you all know, in case you know anybody, because I know everyone on this call appreciates the value of these virtual support groups. So we'll talk to you next week. Okay?
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Good night.